I paid off over $80,000 in student loan debt, and I'm here to tell you that you can do it. The biggest obstacle you have to overcome is deciding, because we live in a society that is very loud about how this cannot be done, especially as a woman, especially as a Black woman. I had to get clear about the vision that I wanted for my life and how I wanted to feel regardless of what my situation looks like. Before you can even get to the practical steps, you have got to believe that it's possible. I know the economy is trash. I know people aren't hiring. I know. But when I started this journey, I literally was only making $30,000, and I went after it with everything inside of me and a prayer. I had to stop the excuses and just get to work. So let me know if you want a series on how I actually paid off my loans, and I will break it down.
Last week, I just finished paying off all of my undergrad student loans, and I thought I would just kind of explain how I did that to make it maybe feel less daunting for other people, because I was able to do it in 2 years, and I did have right around $25,000 worth of loans, which is a lot, but I know that some people have a lot more, and I'm going to be starting PA school, so I'm going to be in like $100,000 worth of loans, so I understand your pain. And disclaimer, like, this is just my experience and what worked for me, so I understand it might not work for everyone. But basically, after I graduated, I was living at home. I'm still living at home now. So that's what really helped me grind on those loans. And the thing is, I am going to PA school. So I was working for the past 2 years, jobs that did not make a lot of money because you need patient care experiences. Like, my current salary or like hourly is $20. So I do not make a lot of money. But basically, once I started working, I was paying $1,000 every single month toward my student loan, which is way more than the minimum. I think my minimum was around $200-ish. I'm not exactly sure, but I was paying $1,000. And when you first get your loans, you are in a grace period. So you're not required to pay them, I think, at least until 6 months after. Mine was longer again because of COVID. But you can select which loans you want to pay towards. Like, you don't have to just pay towards the whole thing. You can select the groupings. So you could pick the group that might have like the most money in it, or the one that has the highest percentage for interest rates, and kind of go that way. So once I realized that you could pay by group, I'm pretty sure I was paying towards the ones with the highest interest rate, because I wanted to get those ones down the most. So once the interest rate kicked in, there would be less to charge interest onto. And I believe I ended up spending around $1,000 in interest. So an extra $1,000 on top of the $25,000. I would also like to say, if you are like really committed to paying off your loans ASAP, you have to sometimes sacrifice. Like, I would be invited to a concert, I wouldn't go. My salary was so little, like my bi-weekly was around $1,100 when I first started. So basically half of my money was going straight to my loan, and I still wanted to save money. And I ended up saving, I think, $9,000 during my first year of work, with paying $12,000 toward the loan. So I was not like, I never get lunch out when I'm at work. I'm always making my coffee at home. Like, just any way I could save was the best for me, because I wanted to get that loan down. And how I finished fully paying it off was I had $8,500 left, and I've always had a very supportive family financially. They didn't help me pay off my loans, but throughout my whole childhood, like, people were putting money into my savings account. I had been saving a lot, so I just withdrew the amount that I needed from my savings to finally like pay it all off, because I had enough in my savings for it really not to be that detrimental to me. And I wanted a summer of like debt-free, not thinking about it, not having to make payments, and then I'll be back into debt this August. So yeah, but it is totally possible. I was not making a lot of money, but I will say you kind of have to live at home, because if you're paying rent, it's just a lot more difficult unless you have a really high paying job. But again, I didn't have rent, so my student loan was my rent, and it is possible to pay it off semi-quickly.
Let's have a little chit chat. How I paid off $200,000 worth of student loans within 3 years. I took out 100% student loans going into CRNA school, going into anesthesia school. I did not save up any money and hadn't planned to. Unlike other advanced practice nursing programs, you cannot work and during CRNA school, during anesthesia school. So, I mean, that does sound really scary. But I think what's forgotten is that when you come out making the money that you were going to be making, the loans that you're going to have, it's just a totally different game. I have CRNA friends that make the minimum payment on their student loans still, and I've been working as CRNAs for years and years, right? So making a $1,500, $2,000 student loan payment to some CRNAs actually just isn't that big of a deal, and it doesn't even hurt the bank. I chose to obviously pay off all of my student loans within 3 years and didn't live an extravagant life as a CRNA, new grad CRNA. I didn't buy a new car. I didn't buy new things. I didn't buy a house. I lived very plainly and threw money at my student loans for 3 straight years. Worked nights, worked off shifts, worked overtime, did a lot of things to make that extra money just to throw at student loans and got it all out of the way as soon as I could. But there's a lot of CRNAs that don't have that mindset and still are paying off their student loans, but because they're making such a big income, that student loan is no different to them than sort of like a car payment. I am obviously not a financial aid advisor person or financial advisor, but so obviously I just know what I've done and what others have done. And I can tell that story, but I'm by no means giving you exact advice. It's just that you don't have to work during CRNA school. You can live off 100% student loans, which was exactly what I did. And that's exactly why I came out with $200,000 worth of student loans, because I was going to out-of-state school and living off of the student loans. The program is so demanding that you are not allowed to work during CRNA school. Unlike other advanced practice programs, you can like nurse practitioner, those are sometimes a breed of like online and whatever, and you can work part-time or do whatever. You can't do that with CRNA school because it is such a different level of demand. When I worked as a nurse, I worked really hard and I felt underpaid for it. As a CRNA, I work really hard, if not harder sometimes, but it's a totally uncomparable job. But I am paid in such a way that if I do have those bad days, I'm like, well, at least I'm getting paid for it. I never felt fully supported as a nurse, and it's sad that it's that way, but you're just not paid for the amount of work that you're putting into it as a nurse, and that's why I was for sure, without a doubt, going back to school for nursing. In your brain, before you're making a certain amount of income, you're like, there's no way in hell I could not work while also going to school or support a family or whatever. I obviously did not have kids or family when I was in school. There was tons of people that did. There were people that were having babies while in school, like not them themselves, but their partners were. You can do it, just got to decide to do it.
Got us.
I just got off the phone with my loan service provider, and oh my gosh, are they miserable to work with. Basically, I have 8 student loans. I thought that I had paid off 3 of the 8. The first one was $500. The second one was like $1,100, and the third one was $36-ish $100. They make it as hard as possible for you, like the way that the payments take time to process, and you still are accruing interest like on the payment that you've already made in the couple days it takes for the payment to process. So it turns out for the first loan, I still owed 4 cents. And for the second loan, I owed $44.45. I think the third one should be fine. They didn't even have like proof of it despite me paying it yesterday and like the pending. So it should be good now. We should have paid off the first 3 loans. But what I had been working on with them for like 3 months with in the fall was making the payments apply to my principal first. Normally all the payments go towards the interest, but the principal is still like accumulating. So I want my payments to go towards the principal first. So I need to work on that because it still isn't, it's being applied to the interest first. So I need to like write them a letter and do all the stuff that I had to do before. But now my first 3 loans should be paid off, so we'll see.
The student loans conversation is way more nuanced than people are making it, and you should be way more pissed than you actually are. No contact from the loan servicing company, no nothing, just got an alert that my credit score dropped 200 points. I just paid off 20 grand in debt. Everybody has their own reasons. However, mine is interesting, and I really want you to sit down, buckle up, and put on your listening ears because I need you to understand a concept of something. When my daughter and I are victims of a federal crime and we are subjected to the federal justice system, we are entitled. There are programs specifically put in place for people who are victims of federal crime. They would not They refused blatantly. And a lot of you remember the emails I sent, but a lot of you don't remember actually how long I dealt with these people before it got to that point. How much stringing me along, giving me false information, getting my hopes up only for them to be fucking obliterated by these people. The federal government gives no fucks about you. The federal government will sooner default on you than allow you to default on them. They're trying to actively destroy the middle class. Tariffs are making everything more expensive. We are a fucking sham of a country. We're an embarrassment. And we're fucking vulnerable as fuck. And Trump, Mr. Defaulted on every loan he's ever received in his life, is now demanding that we pay back loans at the time where we are in a recession, where people are struggling so hard to survive. And those of you who support that man, and those of you who say shit like, well, you took out the loan, it's your responsibility to pay it back, I paid mine back. This is not the same time. I say gas prices in the 80s, and then gas prices now, the only thing they have in common is the core topic, which is gas. But they're entirely different circumstances. You guys are trying so fucking hard because you're so diabolical to make people feel bad when they're barely fucking surviving as is, because you can't open your eyes, you have no accountability, and you can't admit you made a mistake. And I, for one, am tired of paying the consequences of really fucking stupid people.
So I got accepted to medical school, right? And I'm supposed to start July. 2 months from now. About 2 months from now. And it's hard enough getting into medical school. As a first generation, how the f- are y'all paying for this? Because tuition is $66,000. Okay, no one tells you how expensive medical school is. And on top of that, you can't really work. So your food, your health insurance, the roof over your head, all of this needs to be paid for. The average student at the medical school that I got accepted to spends like $120,000 a year to be able to go to medical school. How do people pay for this? Loans. Student loans, personal loans. My problem specifically, my credit score is in hell. It's in lower than hell. Like, I can't explain to y'all how low my credit score is. Lower than straight women's standards, when they'll be like, yeah, he goes out and cheats, but he comes home to me. Lower than that, in hell. Just down there. So how do people pay for this without going into the military? Because that's crazy. This is crazy. The amount of time, money, sweat, blood, and tears that you spend trying to get into medical school just to get to this point and be like, this shit is mad expensive. So yeah, anyway, I'm planning to defer. I'm hoping that they let me defer for a year and then I can figure it out. We'll figure it out.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a leasing agent.
What do you make?
$42,000 a year.
Chicago is one of the cheaper large cities for sure. Definitely most affordable.
It's not that cheap though. I go to Columbia College, Chicago.
What are you studying?
I am studying creative writing with a concentration.
What are you going to do with that?
I want to own properties.
Wait, you're getting a copywriting degree for that? That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
You don't need a degree to do your own writing. You don't need a degree to start getting in the world of real estate. I am not anti-degree. I am anti-dumb degree or waste of time.
Right.
Also, how are we in the world of even talking about real estate when literally the first credit card that is in front of me is a credit one, which is the definition of, okay, you're
I've had that one for years. And
which means you've been for years?
Yes.
Real talk with you guys. I just found out that I have $17,000 worth of federal loans and I had no idea about it. For the past 3 years since I graduated college, I've been paying my loan monthly and I have a private loan through New Jersey Class. I refinanced it, so it's in my name now. We did all that jazz. So I was kind of content with my monthly payment of $377 a month. Yesterday I got a call from someone from this Nelnet government student aid, and they were telling me that I was late with my payments. And I was like, what? They continue to tell me that I have 4 loans with them that are federal student aid loans that I got. And I truly have no idea, like, how this happened. I explained to him that I had loans through this other place, and he was like, yeah, that's private loans. These are federal loans. And I literally was like, I'm gonna have to call you back because I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't even have an account with them. Made an account. What do you know? They're right there. And I'm overdue on a payment. This is where I wish someone would tell me when I was a little 17, 18-year-old girl, oh, by the way, these are all the loans that we're taking out. You're gonna have to pay for them at some point. They're probably gonna be a lot. Just the FYI. So yeah, I have $17,000 on top of my 30-some K student loans. So that was really great to find out about.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to complain about today. My student loans are through Discover, and they sent me a message saying something like, oh, you forgot to make your payment this month of $1,300 and some odd dollars, which I didn't forget. I'm in grad school, so I'm not making payments right now, but besides the point, who is making that big of a payment? And I tried to call them previously and be like, yo, I'm not paying that much money a month. Like, that is ridiculous. That's more than my house payment. That's more than both my car payments combined. Like, I'm not making that kind of payment, right? They said, well, you've already used the hardship options available because they only offer 6 months of hardship. So if they're like, can you get a better job? Can I get a better job so I can make a $1,300 payment to student loans? No, you can fuck off.
I used to be so proud to say that I'm like a first generation college graduate in my family because my mom and my dad or my brother all didn't go, which is fine. And my mom would always tell me, like, Abby, go to college because you will earn more in your life than what we have now. Like, growing up, you will do better than how you grew up. That's what I thought. So that's why I went to college. Tell me why. Like, I'm about to be how old my mom was when she first started having kids. They already had purchased 7 acres of land, but were in the process of building their own home. And I can't even afford gas. I can barely even afford my fucking rent. The idea of buying a house one day is just so abstract to me and just unobtainable. And the fact that I went to college, I did all the right things, and I'm no better off at all. Honestly, I think I'm a little bit, we all are a little worse off. Because 20 years ago, our dollar went a hell of a lot farther than it does now. Was college even fucking worth it?
How old are you guys?
28.
And I'm 31.
And you don't know anybody, anything in the whole wide world?
Nope.
How's that feel?
Great.
Feels great. That first month where the bank account went up and then it stayed up was crazy.
Wild.
So you've been married a year, and what was the thing that happened at the 1 year mark and you went, okay, we're going to have to address this?
The student loans coming back was that year. When the interest was going to come back, so we were like, this has to get going.
How much of the $98,000 was student loans?
All of it.
So what did that 10 months and 7 days of intensity look like?
A lot of looking at the budget, keeping up on track with it, and not being afraid to say no. No, we can't do that. Vacation, we're not going to go out to eat.
I mean, y'all threw approximately $5,000-6,000 a month at this, and you weren't making a lot more than that.
No.
So you were on beans and rice.
Yeah.
I don't know this yet, but life is going to come at y'all. And y'all have built a foundation in year 1 of your marriage that you don't even realize how thick that concrete is on that foundation. And when it comes, y'all are going to know we can do anything.
Yeah.
We paid off $100,000 in 10 months because that's who we are. That's so awesome.
Way to go, you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're very proud of you. John and Megan, West Palm Beach, Florida. $98,000 paid off in 10 months and 7 days, making 107 to 115 and throwing 30 of savings at it. Count it down. Let's hear a debt-free scream.
3, 2, 1. We're debt-free!
Yeah!
This is how I paid over $250,000 worth of med school debt in less than 16 months. Principal only payments. That's how I did it. So when I got out of med school, I had a lot of debt. over $250,000 worth of debt. Throughout residency, I paid the minimum amount monthly, and that really didn't make a dent in it because I was just paying the interest. So basically, the loan company would take my monthly payments and apply it to the interest first and then a little bit of the principal after if there was even any money left over. So anyway, when I got my first real attending job out of residency, I immediately consolidated all of my federal loans into a single loan that was charging less interest. And I specifically selected a company that would not charge me for early repayment because I planned on paying it off earlier than the 5 or 10 years that they allowed. And then someone who also didn't charge me for extra monthly payments because I knew that I would be making principal only payments on top of the minimum monthly payment that they were requiring of me. I would have the minimum amount taken out automatically. And then every month I would go online and submit a separate payment that went to principal only. And by default, your payments will go to interest and then to principal, even after the minimum payment is paid. So you have to make sure that you're specifically selecting principal only payment. I did this for nearly 16 months and everything was paid off. It was a huge relief. If I paid just the minimum payment every month, I would still be paying off my loan and a lot of the money I paid would have gone straight to interest. Your income will drastically increase once you become an attending, so paying off your loans in a short amount of time is completely possible. You don't have to restrict yourself. You don't have to put other savings on hold. I didn't. You just have to be smart about your money and know where your money's going.
I paid off $120,000 of private student loans in just under 4 years, and I'm going to tell you how I did it. I want to preface this video with saying this is what worked for me. My situation is very unique, and I'm going to tell you how I did it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for everyone. When I graduated nursing school, I knew I was going to be living at home for the foreseeable future. I went to NYU nursing school, and it is no secret that it is so expensive to go there. When I graduated, my interest rate was something ridiculously high. It was like 13% on my student loans. I knew I needed to get that down. So after I had like a couple of months of working and income and like getting a good idea of how much money I was really bringing home, I refinanced my student loans through SoFi. And by doing that, I was able to get my interest rate down from like 13% down to 5%. When you refinance your student loans, you get like a payment plan option where you can decide to pay it off in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever you want. And if you set up automatic payments, that will bring down your interest rate even more. Again, I knew I was going to be living at home, so I decided I wanted to be really aggressive with my payments and get it all paid off as quickly as possible. These were private student loans, so the interest never stopped during COVID. The payments were never paused. This is separate from federal loans. So I wanted to be really aggressive, so I decided to do a 5-year repayment plan with automatic payments, and then I wouldn't even think about it. Anyway, so I did a 5-year repayment plan so I could be super aggressive, and my payment was really high, like above $2,000 a month, but I justified it by saying like, if I was living in New York City, this would be my New York City rent. I'm very lucky that I could live at home. I don't have to pay rent. It's super, super, super important to stay like very organized with your budgeting. My big payments for each month are, I financed a car in 2020, so I have my car payment, I have my car insurance, I have my phone, I have like my gym membership, gas, tolls, parking, and then obviously my student loans. My number one tip for staying organized and creating a budget is using the Nurse Wallet app. It's a great budgeting tool that is like aimed for people that do shift work. It helps you like figure out exactly how much with taxes and withholding and everything you're going to take home each month, especially when you add in those overtime shifts. And it's just a really great way to keep everything organized so you can figure out like how much money you're allocating towards certain resources, how much money you want to save, how much money you're allowed to spend. And it's just like a great app. I was really in my like I want to work era, and I was working like 3 jobs at once. Whenever I had any extra like side money cash, I was just throwing it towards a student loan to get it done as quickly as possible. I was really, really aggressive with it, and that's how I was able to pay it off in 4 years. Now those payments are done, but I still need to be very strict with my budgeting and my money. I have a wedding to pay for in a year, and we're trying to save to buy like a house or a condo. So even though the loans are done, I still have to like be really strict with my budgeting and still gonna live at home, save as much money as possible, and throw all my money towards my savings. So anyway, yeah, that's how I did it. My biggest takeaways from this are refinance your student loans, get your interest rates down, get yourself on like an automatic payment plan, figure out what you can afford each month. You have to like align it with what's going on in your life and what you can afford. And if you are in a situation where you can be aggressive with it, be aggressive with it, because the interest is just going to add and add and add and add until you're paying way more than you originally took out. Just stay on top of your budgeting and be organized, and you'll figure it out.
Go to college?
Yeah.
By the time you graduate college, how much debt do you think you will go away with?
I'm not sure. I am taking out student loans right now. I take out about $9,500 every year.
By the time you graduate college, how much student loan debt do you think you'll have?
If I attend like 4 years, probably like a good 30,000-40,000.
And what are you studying?
I'm studying architecture.
Oh, okay, so you're studying a degree that you actually will need.
Yeah.
Do you think it's interesting how a lot of people do go to college and they get these degrees that actually don't help them get a job?
Yeah, I do. I've had people, like friends, tell me that they graduated with like business degrees, and like after they do graduate, it's really hard for them to find a job.
And what are you studying right now?
I'm studying business.
Business. Are you hopeful that once you graduate college, you're going to be able to get a job with that degree?
I am, yes, I am.
Business degrees, and like after they do graduate, it's really hard for them to find a job.
Can y'all please stop coming up here and telling the girlies that post-grad life is easy? Because let me tell you, it's not. It's not. I graduated from Howard University, yes, big HU, last May. And I'm just now getting a job. I applied to 115 jobs. Y'all, I done worked in immigration. I done worked for the government. Not on no federal stuff. But, you know, I worked for the state government, county government. I done worked for Chevron. And they weren't trying to hire your girl. I got about 6 friends that I went to Howard with that are still trying to find a job and are struggling. There's also this sense of post-grad depression that kicks in after a few months where you're like, dang, that time is really gone. Like, I can never go back. Like, I'm adulting now. For real, for real. Like, for real, adulting. My car got repossessed, and I had to move out of my apartment because I couldn't afford it no more because your girl couldn't find a job. But I'm not saying this to discourage anybody because I literally just moved, and I have a job, and I'm doing great. I'm doing great, lo and behold. But my point is, don't let people on this app make you feel like you're doing something wrong or something's missing or you got bad luck or, you know, God isn't with you or whatever because your post-grad reality isn't matching theirs. The reality of the situation is, shit is hard. Hustle it out. Don't get discouraged. Go hard. Chase your dreams. You're never going to be this age again ever in life. And the things that you're doing today ultimately are going to contribute to the results of your tomorrow. Stay prayed up. Have fun. And again, don't get discouraged. And know that you're not alone because post-grad life is hard.